Some look at you and see nothing. They mistake your silence for weakness, your patience for fear, your stillness for defeat. They think you've vanished, but silence is not absence. It's a weapon. Patience is not surrender. It's precision waiting for its hour. While they chase applause and noise, you build in the shadows. You listen, you learn, you prepare. Tonight, Machiavelli and I will speak of the power that grows when the world believes you've already lost. And when this conversation ends, you will understand that being underestimated isn't a curse. It's the sharpest advantage you'll ever hold. Welcome to the hidden side of power. Block 1. The gaze of the blind. You've seen that look before, the one that scans you, weighs you, and silently decides you don't matter. People no longer judge strength by action, only by performance. If you're not loud, you're invisible. If you're not shining, you don't exist. But the truth is simpler, crueler. What they can't see, they can't defend against. The quiet one is not weak. He's the storm that hasn't yet chosen where to strike. They mock restraint because they fear control. They confuse stillness with surrender, not knowing it's the still hunter that always gets the cleanest kill. Every sneer, every dismissal, every small humiliation is a confession, a window into the fear of those who sense something they can't name. Respect isn't built in the spotlight. It's carved, slowly, in the mind of your opponent. So when they laugh, stay silent. When they forget you, watch. Because in that moment, you've already entered the most dangerous position in the game, the one Machiavelli called the silent player.
In my time, too, there were men who mistook quiet for defeat. The nobles who mocked the soldier that spoke little, the courtiers who laughed at the general who smiled, the kings who ignored the advisor standing just behind their throne. And almost always, it was that laughter that killed them. In politics, the deadliest mistake is not hatred. It's the comfort of thinking your enemy cannot strike. I once knew a man in Urbino, a duke who hid behind modesty. He spoke little, flattered everyone, and seemed harmless. But while the others drank and celebrated, he bought their guards, sealed the roads, and took their castle before dawn, without spilling a single drop of blood. He understood the oldest truth of power. Weakness, when worn with intention, is armor. So laugh when they doubt you. It means they've opened their defenses. The wise don't beg for admiration. They wait for blindness to do its work. To be ignored is to move without resistance. To be forgotten is to strike without warning. And when they think you're powerless, they've already mapped the path of their own ruin.
Block 2. The art of being ignored and moving without resistance. I've realized something. The louder a man becomes, the less control he has over himself. The need to prove is the first step toward losing power, because every explanation is a confession, and every boast is a map leading straight to your weakness. The world today worships noise, the glitter, the drama, the endless performance of strength. But the true strategist knows attention is the most expensive prison. When they ignore you, they give you the only space that truly matters. Space to prepare, space to observe, space to sharpen your silence into a blade. Let them underestimate you. It's almost funny now, how blindness has become humanity's favorite comfort. They follow what sparkles. They kneel before whoever shouts loudest. And yet, it's always the quiet one who changes everything. Power doesn't live in exposure. It grows in the dark, where hands are steady and no one sees the building of the storm. So don't compete for attention. Don't waste a single word defending yourself. The one who is ignored moves freely, and freedom, Machiavelli, is the truest form of domination.
You speak as one who's learned what few ever understand, that the ignorance of your enemy is a gift. When they asked me, how does one conquer without war? I said, make them forget you exist. The enemy who does not fear you does not guard against you, and the walls of the unwary crumble faster than the towers of the terrified. That's why I told the princes of Florence, the wise man wears the face of a student, the ambitious man the mask of humility, and the ruler pretends he still does not want the crown. It is the oldest dance of power, to let others believe they lead, while your hand already holds the knife. They laughed at me for saying so. But envy is loud, mastery is silent. The power that announces itself dies in jealousy. The power that hides endures through centuries. No weapon is more lethal than being underestimated, because no one ever aims at the invisible. And you, who live in a world addicted to attention, have an advantage even I did not, because when everyone is shouting, the whisper becomes divine. So let them overlook you. Let them forget your name. It only makes your shadow longer. For in this age of noise, the man who moves without sound rules without being seen.
Block 3. Turning contempt into dominion. There's a moment that every quiet man knows. The one where mockery stops being noise and starts cutting deeper. It's not the doubt of others that breaks you. It's when their doubt becomes your own. That's where most fall. Not because they were hated, but because they started believing the hate was truth. That's the real defeat, when the mind begins to kneel. But contempt can be refined. Every insult can become a blade, every humiliation a map. The pain they hand you is raw material. Melt it, forge it, use it. The fool swallows pain and becomes bitter. The strategist digests it and becomes sharp. I've learned that nothing is more dangerous than the man who's been ignored too long. He no longer seeks validation. He seeks precision. His anger no longer burns, it calculates. His vengeance doesn't shout, it arrives. The calm of the underestimated isn't peace. It's strategy disguised as indifference. The silence of the mocked isn't surrender. It's the final breath before the strike. People think the cold ones feel nothing. But that's the mistake. They feel everything. They just control it. They cut only when it matters. So let them laugh. Let them forget your name. Every time they do, they polish your edge for you. And when the blade finally reveals itself, they'll wonder how they didn't see it coming. It's strange, Machiavelli. The punishments have changed, but the patterns haven't. They no longer exile men like us. They erase us. They no longer torture. They ridicule. They don't kill the body anymore. They silence the message. But they always forget one truth. The ignored become architects. Isolation is not a prison. It's a workshop. Every door they close teaches you to build your own. Every rejection is a new design. And every insult is free information about how the weak reveal themselves. When the moment finally comes, your strike won't come from pride. It will come from clarity.
That, my friend, is how new princes are born. Not from privilege, from exile. Not from applause, from silence. Power is not inherited. It is taken, tooth by tooth, from the jaws of fate. And those who mocked you will one day bow to your discipline. Men think danger lies in hatred. But hatred is obvious. Contempt is subtle. It poisons slowly, without noise, until the arrogant can no longer stand. I have seen kings lose thrones because they laughed at the wrong man. I have seen courtiers hand over crowns to those they called fools. The proud always mistake quiet for submission, and that is why they die surprised. Here is something I never wrote in any of my books. The smile of the humble is the sharpest mask of ambition. The one who pretends to accept his place is already studying how to take yours. While you celebrate your control, he memorizes your habits, your routines, your weaknesses. Dominion requires no roar, only stillness, the kind that hides a storm behind calm eyes. The man who endures contempt without protest is not losing, he's measuring. And when he moves, he will not strike with rage, but with geometry. Remember this. The man who underestimates you has already told you where he feels safe, and every place of safety is a battlefield waiting for patience.
Block 4. The Invisible War. The greatest illusion of this age is the belief that the war is over. No swords, no crowns, and they call it peace. But the battlefield never disappeared. It just changed form. Today, wars are fought with silence, with glances, with information. You don't have to destroy a man anymore. You only have to make him doubt himself. Doubt is the most elegant weapon ever forged. A single word placed with precision can shake years of confidence. A silence, a missing gesture, a delayed response. That's all it takes to make the strong unravel. That's the true terror of power, Machiavelli. It's subtlety. Real power doesn't scream, it waits. It doesn't force, it infiltrates. It doesn't strike, it convinces. The strong impose, the wise outlast. While others fight to be feared, the strategist chooses to be forgotten, because no one defends against what they no longer remember. When people ask me how to respond to contempt, I tell them, don't. Observe. Listen. Study the pattern of disrespect. Every insult is a signal. Every silence, a map. Every laugh, a confession in disguise. Contempt is not an offense. It's information. And those who learn to read it, rule. That's the difference between the wounded and the sovereign. One reacts, the other calculates. Most people spend their lives begging to be understood, to be accepted, to be seen. And in that need for validation, they surrender the very power they're trying to prove. Dependence on recognition is the new slavery. Freedom begins the moment you stop seeking permission to exist. So transform contempt into clarity. Let it strip away your ego, your illusions, your noise, until only precision remains. That's where power lives, in solitude refined into discipline. I no longer want to be understood. I want to be unreadable, because what they can't read, they can't resist.
You have learned well. Contempt cannot be avoided. It must be converted. Pain cannot be escaped. It must be engineered. When you master that, you cease to be human in their eyes. You become a shadow with intent. The war has not vanished. It has simply become polite. Once, blades pierced the flesh. Now words pierce the soul. But the result is unchanged. Control. Never trust kindness. Courtesy is the armor of the schemer. Men smile when they're afraid, praise when they envy, and stay silent when they plot. If you wish to understand power, ignore what they say. Study what they hide. Contempt should not be met with pride, but with distance. Not with fire, but with ice. Fire burns quickly. Ice preserves. Hold your face still while everything inside you burns. Not because you feel nothing, but because your composure is your camouflage. I watched many brilliant men fall, not because they lacked strength, but because they needed to display it. Demonstration is confession. He who must prove his power has already lost it. True authority requires no audience. Real dominance explains nothing. Silence is not emptiness. It's ownership.
Final block. The New Prince. There comes a moment in every life when you stop waiting for justice, when you stop expecting rescue, when you finally understand no one is coming, no helping hands, no fair endings, no permanent allies. The world moves by interest, not intention. Even love, respect, and friendship often hide strategy behind virtue. And when you see that truth, that's when your real transformation begins. Because power doesn't appear when you're praised. It begins when you are left alone, and still choose to rise. That's when you stop begging for recognition and start building without witnesses. That's when you stop asking to be seen and decide that visibility is a trap. Respect isn't demanded, it's imposed, quietly through results. The calm precision of someone who owes no explanations. Contempt stops hurting once you realize you no longer need validation. Silence stops scaring you once you learn to hear yourself within it. And solitude stops feeling like exile when you understand that no one climbs to the summit with company. The air at the top is too thin for applause. Weak men seek witnesses. Strong men seek purpose. While they debate fairness, you sharpen discipline. While they argue who's right, you decide who holds power. While they post their pain, you weaponize yours. In this world, victory doesn't belong to the loudest. It belongs to the most silent, the one who can stay still without breaking. Triumph doesn't echo, it calibrates. It's not chaos, it's order. And when you master yourself, you discover the secret of all conquest. There are no real enemies, only untrained reflections. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But I've learned something new. It's better to be understood by no one and respected by everyone, because respect grows from mystery, and mystery is born in silence. That's why I no longer explain. I no longer justify. I no longer warn. I just watch, because the observer commands. And he who commands without speaking has already won before the first move is made. I don't want to destroy anyone. I only want power to return to its rightful place. Inside. Not in titles, not in approval, not in masks. Inside, where no one can touch it. There the fire doesn't burn, it purifies. And if you ask why I stay quiet while the world screams, my answer is this. The voice of a strategist doesn't need volume. It only needs timing. And timing always comes for the one who waits, without falling asleep. The rest will keep talking. They'll keep shouting. But when the noise dies, when the dust settles, when false kings eat each other alive, then you will hear another sound. A slow, deliberate step. Yours. No one will know when you began moving, but by the time they notice, you'll already be everywhere.
That is how the new prince is born. Not in palaces, but in the dark. Not through cheers, but through silences that teach him to listen to what others fear to face. True power is not learned from victories, but from humiliation, from loss, from being forgotten. Only the ignored understand the weight of attention. Only the humiliated understand the anatomy of respect. Men fear solitude because they cannot rule themselves. But he who governs his mind governs empires. And the one who knows himself fully no longer needs defense. He cannot be taken because he belongs to nothing. That is the beginning of invulnerability. Listen carefully, because this is what few ever grasp. Contempt is a form of tribute. No one underestimates what poses no threat. If they ignore you, it's because they fear you in silence. If they mock you, it's because they see in you what they can't become. If they doubt you, it's because they sense your precision. So do not defend yourself. Let time speak for you. Reputation is built when the world still believes you're asleep. Respect arrives when you've stopped chasing it. And fear settles in when they realize you never sought it. The most perfect war is the one the enemy doesn't know he's already lost. So when someone despises you, smile. Not with arrogance, but with understanding. You've just read their soul. Rule without noise. Strike without anger. Move without trace. When the world begins spinning again, searching for saviors or scapegoats, you will already be elsewhere. Invisible, but present in everything. Seek no justice. Seek dominion. Seek no love. Seek clarity. And when you finally find it, say nothing. Just watch as their fires fade while yours keeps burning. Silent, eternal, untouchable. Write this down. I am the thinking silence, and the fire that never dies.